going on, everybody? Mike McFarland, your host of McFarland's Corner and the Lake Fork Rundown. Years ago, when we started this, it was just a corner. We didn't have the studio. We didn't have it all AC'd and heated and soundproofed and the whole 9 yards. It wasn't an idea until later on. Originally, we started it in the corner, and we called it Mike's Corner, McFarland's Corner. But today, I'm very pleased to let you know that we've come a long ways over, I think, a 3-year period. It's now a full-blown studio, and we have 20 plus sponsors and or supporters of the channel, of the show. There's 20 podcasts a month, and it's pretty awesome. It's fun. So welcome to today's rundown. This is a Lake Fork rundown, Tuesday the 19th. I've got some okay information to share with you about Lake Fork. And remember that this is a public free report, okay? So the lake level is 400.72 yesterday, 400.67 today. 50 to 53 degree water temperature, which is cold. It's considered winter fishing for sure. 0 to 1 clarity. Kind of doesn't matter where you are on the lake. That's about what you're going to see. You're not going to see anything clearer than about a foot. This is pretty typical for this time of year. We're actually a little bit higher in level than normal. That's about 2 foot 3 inches below full pool, which is great. We'll reach full pool again this spring for sure. It doesn't take much rain for us to gain 2 feet. So when the spring rains come, the lake will come back to full pool. Pretty good for the spawn. And I project that 2024 is going to be a great year for all of us. So fish-wise, it is fishing like winter. It's cold water, okay? Mark Pack used to say it best, that when it gets below 54 degrees, break out your flipping stick and go flipping all the stumps in the creeks. Get your jig out and go slow. However, this year we're a little bit behind. We haven't had much cold yet. Only in the right at freeze for just a short term a few times. And everything seems to, each winter it seems to be later and later. We're still going to have winter. It's going to be more like January, February, and March. We won't skip winter. We'll still have it. Indoor will just be all at once, one big hit and harsh. They're predicting harsh. But due to the fact that it's not as cold as it could or should be, not just the water, but our weather patterns, if you just want to catch fish, you can catch quite a few fish if you just go shallow. Little trick worms, shaky heads, and drop shots fished in the shallows, preferably on wind-blown, warm-trended areas. Light wind, not heavy, but where the sun hits. So you're going to look at your southern exposures, your southeastern exposures, where the sun at 8 in the morning is already hitting the bank. Red clay banks are going to be better areas. Areas that have some vegetation will be very good, helpful. The vegetation will absorb the sun and the heat. And those areas, any light breeze, the surface will begin to warm up, and that blows that warm water into those banks. That's why you want to use those wind-blown banks. I suggest that if you just want to catch fish, you want to have fun. Now I'm talking 6-inch to 15-inch fish here. I'm not talking about these Lake Fork specials or the big fish. But just a little trick worm. This is a full-size Bass Assassin tap-out worm. I don't know that I would use a full-size, a 7-inch. I probably would use what they call the little tapper, which is a 4-inch. With the Bass Assassin little tapper, a lot of action even in the cold water. A lot of times we stray away from plastics in cold water because they lose their lifelike presentation. Today's plastics in some of these pours that these companies are doing, they really don't have the negative effect in cold water like they used to. But I like the black and the blue tails. You could use, red bug. June bug is a great color. This year's red bug Bass Assassin tap out. And then, of course, another one that's really good this time of year is Watermelon Magic or Watermelon Magic Red. I really like that. But again, if I was just wanting to go catch a bunch of fish, and when I say a bunch, if you hit it right, you can catch from 15 to 30 a day right now. get a small spinning rod, lightweight line, 6 to 10 pound test. You'll have a ball. But you do the little tap out. Now, I don't recommend a zoom at this time. Zoom trick worm is one of my favorites. The zoom trick worm or the finesse trick worm is one of my favorites on fork to use. But that particular plastic in the winter isn't as lifelike as some of these others. So, nice straight tail, no curl tails anymore. Get away from the power worms and just go to those little finesse trick worms. Black and blue tail, black and blue fire tail. Wow, it's a good one. And then again, a small light shaky head. When I say light, I mean light, like 1/8 ounce. And or a drop shot with about 12-inch leader. All right. That will catch you fish on fork. You may have to cover water. You may have to move around a bit till you find a bite. But you can actually catch fish and have a good time doing that. It's winter time, so the bigger fish are doing two things. Number one, they are beginning to what I call pre-stage. Not truly staging to spawn, but pre-staging near the areas that they will go stage to spawn. Okay, staging is going to happen in February. By March, they're starting to spawn. Mid-March, April, they're spawning. Right now, the pre-staging areas is going to be the mouse of all of your creeks. Your spawning fingers, arms, coves, pockets, ditches, drains, whatever. So if you have any familiarity with areas that the fish spawn, and I'll give you one just because I want to. Dale Creek, for example. Dale is a very big, long creek. There are a lot of spawning flats within Dale Creek from front to back. The main creek that goes down the middle of Dale is full of trees. Okay? In the water trees, submerged trees. If you're deep enough out at the mouth of Dale, some of those trees are in 30 feet, 40 feet of water. Those fish will suspend along those trees out offshore at different depths daily, depending on the weather. Cold fronts, they may be a little deeper. Sunny, nice, calm days, they may come up and sunbathe. But those bigger females are in those trees, pre-staging the stage, and they're very vulnerable to be caught. But the key is you have to have live scope, and you have to be good with live scope. Okay, you won't find, there's so many trees, it's a needle in a haystack when you're going down the middle of those deals. You got to have live scope. Live scope's like taking a flashlight underwater and inspecting this tree, no, this tree, no, this tree. Oh, looky there, there's two fish sitting on that tree with the appendages. And then you're going to fish for them accordingly. Jerk baits, Alabama rigs, so on and so on. Swim baits, glide baits, blah, blah, blah. But that live scoping deal, being able to fish the right trees and not waste your time fishing all of the trees, definitely is the difference in success in the guys that are catching big fish right now. The cool thing to keep in mind is that those big fish are full of eggs. The body of that female, the eggs are calling demand on that female. She is willing to eat this time of year, even in the cold water. That's probably your best bet for success for big fish on fork. The secondary best bet would be to get in the same creeks and fish the creek bends, like Mark Pack would, with jigs. Slow down and really concentrate and fish those bends. And when you feel that jig crunch on them things, slow down. Let it sit in the crunch. That's where you're going to get bit. And those depths can range a lot on a daily basis as well. Remember, with the jig, you're bottom fishing now. You're not suspending. So those particular fish are going to potentially be moving in and out a little bit. And so that can be find some on Monday in a certain depth, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, cold front hits them and they've moved. They're in a different depth. They'll move in and move out, move in and move out in the creeks. Okay. That's my best advice for you. Now, if you like to fish shallow also, on the right warm trending days in the afternoon, mid-afternoon, you can throw reaction baits and catch some fish on the flats and things like that. Again, it has to be warm trended areas. And you really need to try and find vegetation. If there's no vegetation, there probably isn't any bass in the shallow waters in the cold of December. You can go in any lake around the area, other lakes, Welsh, Athens, and so on, that has vegetation shallow, lots of vegetation, matted vegetation, and you'll be surprised at how many fish are in it, in that grass, protected in the grass. The grass really absorbs and acts like a blanket. The sun, it absorbs the sun. It really helps a lot. It absorbs the daily sun and then holds it overnight. The edges and things give great, cover and areas for the bass to sit and suspend as well and sunbathe accordingly. But Lake Fork just doesn't have that much vegetation. With that in mind, I want to remind you again, too, there's a lot of turmoil going around about Texas Parks and Wildlife spraying on Lake Fork. I want to very much clarify that they only sprayed in one cove because they found salvinia in that cove, and that cove is white oaks. I'm going to tell you that. If you go to the back of white oaks, there's also a barricade now. They've barricaded off white oaks. And listen, this is a dangerous situation. The salvinia was coming from a creek in White Oaks, the back of creek. It was actually coming from a pond on private property that when it rained enough and that pond overflowed, it would hit the creek and it would come down into White Oaks. They were wondering for years, where's this coming from? There was actually salvinia found on the 515 West Bridge, and some had blown all the way into Lake Fork Marina. Okay, we cannot have an infestation of giant salvinia in our lake. If it blows across, it's not a rooted deal, it's a floating deal, like hyacinth. If it gets everywhere and from north to south, they'll have to spray the whole entire lake. Okay, it's kind of like cancer. When you get cancer, they give you chemotherapy. They may treat the area with radiation, but they give you chemotherapy that hits your whole body. It's in your blood. It's in your body. Okay, they have to kill, they have to treat the whole thing. We don't want that. So if you do see some salvinia floating around anywhere, report it immediately, because right now, if it's a minimum, they can go out and collect it by hand. If it takes off this spring, and it doesn't have to be spring, that's the other thing, the salvinia, a lot of people are saying, man, how come they're spraying, winter's here, that stuff's going to die anyways. No, it is not. The salvinia does not die in the cold. In fact, when we had the freeze a couple years back and the ice snowmageddon that we had, it didn't affect the salvinia hardly at all, where it kills back everything else. Okay, so salvinia is bad, bad, bad news. It's a double-edged sword. Salvinia overtaking our lake is worse than them spraying the entire lake. Please note that. They're trying not to spray at all. Salvinia, they have to. They're not spraying hyacinth this year. Hyacinth also is invasive, and people don't like it. It blows from one side of the lake to the other. It's another non-rooted, somewhat what they call an invasive species of vegetation. But just know that, okay? The Lake Fork is not being bomb sprayed. It's just one specific area. It's now barricaded off. And when you go back there, you're allowed to go over, I think you're allowed to go over that barricade. Be very careful. Try not to break the barricade or mess it up so you don't ruin the importance of it. I think you can, trolling motor and raise your big engine and work your boat over it. I think that's illegal. It may or may not be. I don't believe it's illegal, to put it that way. You may not want to do that anyways. This time there's probably nothing behind it right now at this particular time. All right. All right, we're kind of at the end of the Tuesday, the 19th report. I'll be back Thursday to give you another report, some more information, detailed information. You're probably noticing a lot of stuff here in front of me, and I'm about to do the members-only rundown, which is an upgrade from what you get here. Members-only rundown is just as much more detail. It's more specific. It talks about areas, depths, presentations, colors, specifics, that exactly how we, McFarland Fishing, the Lake Fork Guide, and the fish, period, are being caught on Lake Fork. In the members only channel, not only do I upgrade the detailed information, but I give the information on about a half a dozen other lakes, all the way from Dallas, Lake Hubbard, Levant, Possum Kingdom, O.H. Ivy, Palestine, Tawakoni, Athens, Gilmer, Welsh. I have 5 guides that give me the reports for all around these areas. So maybe you don't want to fish for it. Maybe you're traveling here and you fish for it for a day and you want to see something else. Or maybe you fish for it for a day or two and you're not doing very well and you want to go somewhere else. That members only channel could be very, very, very advantageous to you. So please consider subscribing, upgrading your subscription here. It's very simple. Look in the description below the video. Click out of the video, look in the description below, and you'll see a link for members only. Just click on that, follow the process, and become a member. So we'd love to have you. All right. Other than that, like I said, I'm getting ready to do the members only rundown right now. I'm thankful for you for watching. Please hit the like button. Comment below if you have any comments or anything to share. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments as well. And if you don't want the public to see your questions, private message me, 602-826-1524. Next year's spring is already filling up huge. March is almost full. The premium dates are disappearing very fast for March, April, and May. But I do have openings. If you'd like to book with me, please also message me or call 602-826-1524. And then we're going to close with one big shout out to all the sponsors and all the supporting companies. J. Hodge Chevrolet, Skeeter Bass Boats, Diamond Sports, Yamaha, Texas Insider Fishing Report, Florida Insider Fishing Report with Abu Garcia, Berkeley Power Pole, Bass Assassin, Bajío Sunglasses, Tightlines UV, Lake Fork Trophy Lures, Impact Lures, Sandtone Lures, Real Time Rods, Magic Reaction, Lake Fork Marina, Go Fish Lures, Steve's Custom Prop Shop, The Original Rod Socks, Sign Shop, Burning Stump Lodge, Tackle Co-op, which is a new one, Lake Fork Resort, Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Thanks to y'all, and I wish you happy holidays and great fishing.